peeps and grave hunters, welcome to another episode of History Rants. This week's episode is going to be admittedly a little bit different. Instead of covering one singular historical event, I am taking on the monumental task of trying to consolidate the many achievements in life of one of my personal heroes, the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We unfortunately lost her last Friday, as you all know. She was 87. She was a powerhouse. She was so much more than just a Supreme Court justice who paved the way for gender equality in this country. She really is a remarkable woman. And if you find yourself like me and you're still in mourning and you keep crying, that's okay. If you're terrified about what her absence means for this country, for our future, for females, and for this election, that's okay. So am I. So if we are going to continue in her footsteps as best we can, we have to keep fighting. And in order to do that, I think we need to learn really in depth about her life to try to summon her as best we can, because she really left some very large shoes to fill. But in order to do that, we all know I'm one to need some liquid courage. So you guys know the drill. If you want the recipe for this week's spook tale, go to my TikTok, go to my Instagram, you'll find it there. And I made this because I couldn't afford her California Red Opus 1, which is her favorite wine. I wish I could have gotten that for this, but I couldn't. So I made a cocktail and I got a little cheeky with it, I'm not gonna lie. This, my friends, is the Ginsburg Fizz. You get it? Ginsburg. It's made with gin. It's a good drink. It's delicious. I love it. I'm pretty proud of this drink. Get the recipe, make it, take a sip, try not to cry. We're gonna keep it together, folks. Cheen cheen and on with the show. Joan Ruth Bader was born in 1933 in Brooklyn, New York, like where all the cool people are born. I'm biased. A lot of my family was born there, so I'm going to just take pride in that. Brooklyn and Chicago all day, baby. Anyways, she was born into a Jewish family. So you can just imagine already, it's the 1930s, Jewish family. There's a lot of social obstacles. It's only going to get worse. We all know how this story pans out. But her mama, Celia, is like her bestie, and what an incredible role model. So her mom always told her two things: be a lady and be independent. And what I think is beautiful about that is it's not condescending. Basically what she means by be a lady, it's not, be a man's puppet. It's listen, stay composed. Because her mom understood if women needed to be heard or wanted to be heard at that time, you can't rant and yell like I do. You have to do it in a way that men will actually listen. So stay composed. Don't let your anger take over. Don't be envious. Don't let nasty emotions take over. And by being independent, don't let yourself depend on a man. Which for a mother in the 30s to tell their daughter that, that's big stuff. And also her mom was kind of an example of selflessness. She worked purely to be able to afford to put her brother through college. So I think it's just a beautiful thing that Ruth got to grow up seeing. Ruth was a super talented academic child. She killed it. She was nailing it. She was top of her class. But then, of course, because life has to be life, super tragic turn of events, her mother dies from cancer the day before her high school graduation. So this monumental day that should have been celebrated with her mother, who you could definitely argue is one of the biggest reasons why Ruth was there, passes before she can celebrate with her daughter. Obviously, Ruth is distressed. She does not go to her graduation, but this does not stop her. In fact, if anything, this might have been what propelled her forward. she ends up going to Cornell University, where again, she kills it because she's RBG. We don't call her Notorious RBG for no reason, folks. She's killing it, okay? She's top of her class. She's studying government. She knows, hey, I can do this better than freaking anybody. She says that was a selfish thing. No, honey, that was selfless because we needed you to go to school for government. We needed you to go to school to be a lawyer. We needed you, and thank God you did it. But it's also at Cornell where she meets her future husband, Martin Ginsburg, who, my God, guys, my God, Marty and Ruth's love story is like better than anything that Nicholas Spark has ever written, okay? It is my dream. It is goals. It is so, so beautiful. And I'm just going to take a moment to gush about it because I'm obsessed with it. I'm a romantic, okay? Don't judge me. We need happiness. We're going for it. So they get set up on a blind date in college. Except technically it's not a blind date because Marty had actually seen her before. He's like, she's cute. She's a cutie. And they go out and, you know, he's like, oh my God, not only is she beautiful, she also has a brain. And what's so sweet about this is Ruth always has said, this was the first guy I dated who actually cared that I had a brain. And he didn't just care, he relished in her intelligence. He loved it. He was outgoing and funny and witty, and she was just very composed and listened, but loved that about them. So they graduated Cornell. They got married, and then he gets drafted into the military, and they moved to Oklahoma. They're in Oklahoma for 2 years. They have their first child, Jane, and then he's not in the military anymore. They can go back to school, so they go to Harvard, okay? This is a super crazy time for the family because she is one of 9 women in a class of 500 men. And yeah, obviously there's some sexism going on, and you think, oh, maybe the students are just being dicks to her. No, it's not just the students. It's actually the dean who made the women come into his office and answer like, what makes you think that you have the right to take a seat a man could fill? What? Anyways, things get worse because Marty gets cancer. So just take a second, folks. Let's just lay this out. They're both going to school to be lawyers. She's going to school full time. She's taking care of their infant daughter. She's also taking care of her husband that has freaking cancer. And this is before chemotherapy, folks. So she's going to school. She's taking notes. She's getting her notes from her husband's class, arranging with classmates, making sure he doesn't fall behind during his classes, all while getting like 2 hours of sleep. Okay? She's still she's still top of her class. She's the first woman to be appointed to the Harvard Law Review. Marty gets better. He graduates. He gets a job at a law firm in New York. So then she decides, let's go to Columbia. I'll just transfer to Columbia. There, she's also top of her class. She graduates top of her class and again is on the law review, okay? This woman can't be stopped. We need to bow down. I don't know where she found the time or energy to do anything, yet she did it, and it's amazing. Let's drink to that. So now we have this super spicy, super smart female lawyer, hot off the presses, just graduated college, Columbia, okay? Top of her class. And no one will hire her. No firm is willing to take on a female lawyer. Like, she even has classmates that are also now lawyers that are at firms being like, yo, guys, just listen, come in here close. I know a person, this amazing lawyer, top of the class. She would be great. And as soon as they said she, they were like, you want to bring a female into our sausage party? Hey, Dick, they want to bring a female into our sausage party. Nah. So this is kind of the first moment, besides other little things, but I think this is a thing that clicks with her when she starts realizing, like, yeah, guys can be jerks and they don't like females around, but like, whoa, I won't get hired because I'm a woman. Super messed up. So she ends up teaching at Rutgers and Columbia. She actually becomes the first tenured female professor at Columbia. Before she's at Columbia, she's at Rutgers. And at Rutgers, she's teaching, she's doing her thing, but then she kind of bands together with some female faculty, some, peers, who clue her in like, yo, did you know that William, Harry, Dick, and Sam are getting paid a lot more than we are? So they made a campaign to get paid equal wages as the male professors. They are doing the same amount of work, but they are getting paid substantially less. Now, did they get equal pay? No, but they did get more money. But I think this is like the first kind of campaign trial moment that she's actively fighting for equal rights from men, gender equality. Then in the 70s, she's had enough. She has absolutely had enough. And she's like, I'm going to do something about this inequality that I'm seeing amongst the sexes. I'm going to co-found and be the director of the Women's Rights Project at the ACLU, and I'm gonna kill it. And guess what, folks, she does? She argues 300 cases, 6 of them go to the Supreme Court. It's about to get nuts. I also just want to caveat this by saying that all of this entire time, Marty is like cheering her on as his #1 supporter. They have 2 kids now. He picks up extra domestic tasks at home, like cooking, because apparently she was horrible. So because she was so bad, he learned to be an amazing cook. But he really realized, like, this woman has supported me through my darkest times. She is doing something so important. Her work at the ACLU is untouchable in its importance. So you know what? I'm going to do what I can to make sure home is okay so my wife can go excel. And oh my God, goals, goals, goals. I want that. I want that so badly. But now it's time to get into why she is the notorious RBG. We need to get into her cases. We need to get into the things that she did that has changed this nation and has made it so that I have a better life here in this country. I'm going to do it without crying. That's how I'm going to tell myself right now. One more sip and we'll get into it. Because she was brilliant, she understood if she really wanted to get people, and by people I mean men, to listen, she would have to demonstrate that gender inequality was not limited to just women. So she did something so smart. She took on cases where men were the victim of gender inequality. So her first case that she took before the Supreme Court was Frontiero versus Richardson. And I'm not a lawyer, okay? We all know that. That's pretty obvious. But I'm going to do my best to try to summarize what this case is about. So essentially, a female Air Force captain tried to get enhanced benefits for her husband for like better housing and insurance. And her claim was denied because she couldn't provide proof in paperwork that she provided over half of her husband's needed income. Doesn't sound that shady until you realize that male military does not have to provide the same paperwork for their wives. So basically, what the military is taking a stance and saying is like, there's no way the female is the breadwinner. And if she is, yeah, okay, I'd like to see the paperwork. Whereas if a male military needs better benefits because he has a wife, they're like, oh yeah, it's a woman. She probably makes nothing. So yeah, have some extra. Okay, not okay. But the way she spun it was like, this man is being denied something he should have. And the court was like, whoa, 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 we are denying a man something? No. We're going to fix that. They won with the landslide, opened up a whole lot of doors. Another case where she used a man as the example was Weinberger versus Weisenfeld, I think it is. And basically, due to some weird BS in the Social Security Act, a widower was not appointed the same benefits as a widow. So basically, this man's wife had died and he wasn't allowed to collect all of the Social Security to be able to take care of his kids full time. Basically, the reason why that was females' Social Security taxes didn't garner as many benefits as male Social Security tax. So basically, as a female, what I'm paying into is ultimately going to get less. So he didn't get as much as she would have gotten had he died, meaning he would have had to like work full time and not be able to dedicate the time to his kids like he wanted. Basically, because of this BS, he was being denied getting to be at home with his children, which is something every man should have the right to do if they want to do. Again, they won because fathers should be allowed to be at home with their kids, fathering. And beyond that, It just shouldn't matter which person dies and who gets what. That's stupid. It's stupid. It's inequality. She fought for it. She won. Nailed it. Okay. I cannot obviously cover all 300 cases she argued while with the ACLU before she became a Supreme Court justice, but I'll summarize. Because of her, women, like myself, can now sign a mortgage if they're not married. I'm not married. If I want to go buy a house, I can buy a house. Thank you, RBG. Because of her, you can't get fired for being pregnant. It's not seen as a freaking disability anymore. Before, they could literally be like, oh, you got knocked up? Haha, bye. Also, because of her, women can choose what they want to do with their bodies, something she continuously fought for. Last was in 2016 when no other justice would stand with her. She dissented and she was like, women should be able to have rights to their own body because hell yes. Because of her, workers have to provide health care that covers birth control, the way the health care covers Viagra for all the limp dicks out there, okay? If limp dicks can be covered, then female birth control should be covered, okay? Upshot, didn't matter if you were a female, no matter what gender you are, didn't mean what your sexuality was, what color you were. She always referred back to the 14th Amendment that basically said any citizen is protected by constitutional law. What that means in its most simplest context is if you are a citizen of the United States or if you are in the United States, you are protected by constitutional law. It doesn't matter. It doesn't say women aren't, blacks aren't, homosexuals aren't, none of that. It's not what it says. People are protected by constitutional law. So when things aren't equal, she will go back to that amendment and be like, this is not the same protections. This is not equal. Fix yourself. For example, it's not like she was just out there rampaging on a feminist soapbox. She kind of was, but she kept it in check. For example, there was this really weird law in Oklahoma that said that women at 18 could buy beer and men had to wait to 21. And she's like, that's BS. Everybody should have to wait till they're 21. Why do women get to get beer before men do? See, equality goes both sides, folks. If you open your brain and you see things the way an equal, fair-minded person would, maybe more things would make sense to you. In 1993, a super big thing happened, and President Clinton nominated her to be the second ever female Supreme Court justice. Now, I need to mention, because I love them, one of the reasons why she was even brought to Clinton's attention, a huge part of that was because Marty campaigned for her. He told everybody about her. He was so proud of his wife, and she was shy and quiet. I mean, her work wasn't quiet, but her herself wasn't going to stand there and talk about her many achievements and be like, yo, Bill, hey, I should be on the bench. But thankfully, Bill met her, was like, hell yeah, this is my girl. This girl knows what's up. Let's get her. Let's get her. Now, again, when she's on the bench, she's only the second female to ever be on there. She knew she had to be tactical. So, yeah, she's liberal, but honestly, you could really argue that up until 2016, she was pretty moderate because she couldn't, let's be honest. What is it going to look like for her if she gets up there and she's just like far left, negates and dissents everything the conservatives want to do? Like, that's not going to work for her. Nobody will work with her. Her career probably won't last long. It's not going to be great. So she kind of plays the middle. But just because she was tactical does not mean RBG was backing down from a fight, okay? In United States versus Virginia, she let the world know what she was about, okay? So basically, the Military Institute, the All-Male Military Institute in Virginia, VMI, did not want females. They were basically like, women aren't cut out for this. We can't have women. There's all girls schools, and if they want to have men, that's their own prerogative, and I don't care. Again, sausage party, I love hot dogs. And she's like, what do you mean that women are lesser? What do you mean they can't do what you want? You saying a female can't be a cadet? See me outside, bitch. So basically she won. And everyone was like, damn, RBG, she just fought that eloquently. She's amazing. She is not here to play. Yeah, She's been called the great dissenter because she's not afraid to break from the majority if they think they're messing up. Like in 2000, when they refused to do a recount in the Gore versus Bush case, because the stupid hanging Chad and all that BS, there should have been a recount. It's absolutely asinine that there wasn't a recount. Or in 2013, when a very key element in the Voters' Rights Act was being threatened, that basically says that any jurisdiction that has a history of discrimination needs to have a federal investigation before they make any changes to their polling situations and voting situations. Basically, what's happening now where mail-in ballots aren't available some places and mailboxes are disappearing and that's a heavily black area. Let's make it really hard for them to vote. Yeah, she was like, that's not gonna fly, okay, people get to vote. That's the most American thing in America. Voting should be for everybody and everybody should have access for it. End of story, gavel, bam, 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 bam. I also want to mention that while she's out there kicking ass, working 14, 18, 19 hours a day, her loving, amazing husband, Marty, will come to her offices and physically take her out of the office and be like, Ruth, you got to come home for dinner, okay? He was cooking for her. He loved her. He took care of her. But because life is a cruel mistress, Marty got cancer and he passed in 2010 and he left her a note. And I'm going to read it, and I am not going to cry, but I just think it's pretty important to their love story. So here we go. My dearest Ruth, you are the only person I have loved in my life. Setting aside a bit parents and kids and their kids, and I have admired and loved you almost since the day we first met at Cornell some 56 years ago. What a treat it has been to watch you progress to the very top of the legal world. I will be in JH Medical Center until Friday, June 25th, I believe. And between then and now, I shall think hard on my remaining health and life and whether on balance the time has come for me to tough it out or to take leave of life because the loss of quality now simply overwhelms. I hope you will support where I come out, but I understand you may not. I will not love you a jot less. Marty. Are you freaking kidding me, people? Love in the movies? Okay, it exists. She found it. And I really, truly think that she was able to do the work she did and fight as long as she did on the Supreme Court for 27 years because she had a mother like Celia that told her the world will not see you as equal, but as long as you believe it's equal, you can fight for a better world. She had a husband that supported her wholeheartedly in whatever she did in a time and era where women really were meant to be at home. And he saw what she was capable of, and he was that foundation of support and love that she needed to be able to make this country a better place for all of us. I am fortunate enough to have a mom like RBG, and I think maybe that is why this has affected me so much, because my mom is such a strong woman, and she has always raised me to believe that I have a voice and I can be anything I want, and how to face a world that is scary, that is unequal, that is unjust. And she has led by example because she's been fighting injustices a little bit louder than RBG, but she's been fighting injustices my entire life. She's never been afraid to step up for somebody in need. And not everybody has that. I am very, very grateful and lucky to have a mom that instilled that in me, but so many people don't. So many mothers don't tell their daughters that. RBG, she was like the country's mom. She was the one that if you didn't have it at home, she was out there fighting for your right to be equal, and she was leading by example that it might be hard, but your voice, your person, your persona, your life is worth fighting for equality, and we lost that. And that is something that I don't think any of us were 100% prepared to lose, especially not now. Now, I'm not saying she's a saint, okay? Nobody is a saint. That's not what I mean. She had her flaws. In 2016, when she spoke out about Trump during the election, should a Supreme Court justice speak about a nominee? Technically, no. Do I think she's a badass for seeing and stating the train wreck that did hit our country and is currently destroying it? Yeah. But was it a perfect move? No. But when she passed last Friday, the amount of texts I got from friends scared about what this means was overwhelming, because the thing is, we are facing the most important election this country has ever seen, ever. We are on essentially the brink of a civil war, and without her, and with the Republicans so eager to replace her, even though we're but days away from this election, and almost all of them totally stonewalled Obama in 2016 from electing somebody to the bench 9 months before an election. Now apparently they think it's fine. The hypocrisy is not lost on anybody with a brain. What do we do? How do we gather the courage and not crumple in fear when the person that was fighting for us and did so until her very last days, and one of her last wishes was that she not be replaced until there's a new president? And with those wishes so clearly being just ignored spitefully because there's some absolute corrupt BS happening at the freaking White House. I don't care how political I sound, because we all know that's happening. Our own freaking current president is saying he will not accept any result in this election unless it's him winning, and that's a problem, okay? We are currently dealing with possibly a dictatorship, and we do not have the one person that was fighting so hard for us. And that woman was fair. That woman was closer to a saint than I'll ever be. She was best friends with the late Justice Scalia. You could not have paid me to be in a man with that anti-feminist person, and yet here she is gallivanting at operas with him, because even though they didn't agree politically on anything, she saw a human being, and human beings to her were worth a chance. And I am trying to live that truth in a time where things are so scary and unsure. And I don't know the answer. I don't know how we move forward. I don't know how we are as strong as she is. I don't know how we're going to pull through this, okay? But all I know is the one thing that we all can do is vote. Vote like your life depends on it. If you are white, vote like you're a minority. If you are a man, vote like you are a female, okay? If you are straight, vote like you're not. Vote for humanity, because I am so tired of being scared. I am so tired of being sad. I am so tired of injustices happening day in and day out, and our president and the government and all of these people walking scot-free. I am tired of seeing cops walk without punishment after murdering somebody in their bed. One of the most famous things that she ever said was, "All I ask of our brethren is to take their feet off our necks." And I don't think there's any more fitting statement to what we're currently facing than that. So, light a candle, pour a glass, put on some opera, and pay your respects to the woman who made this country. Whether you agree with her all the time or not, she did make this place a safer, better place for all of us. And now it's our job to hopefully not mess it up. Thank you guys for watching another episode of History Rants. I appreciate you guys sticking with me through this episode. I know it got a little political. I know I get very passionate sometimes talking about these things. Know that I am here with you guys. I am mourning with you guys. I am rooting for the right guys to win this time, and for injustices to stop, injustice to prevail. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see what the next episodes are going to be. October is quickly approaching, which means spooky history is coming, which will be a lot lighter than this. I hope. Thank you guys, as always. I love you guys, and see you next week. Ching ching.